studios want to hit, it seems like they decided maybe 10 or 15 years ago to get out of the business of hitting singles and doubles, and they wanted to hit home runs every time. And a home run means they want to have a movie that sells overseas, especially to Asia and China, because those are huge markets. And comedies often, they say they don't travel well. Something gets lost in translation. And so, but the movies that do travel very well are these big blockbuster sci-fi, action films, green screen, Marvel movies. Those are easy to translate, and they do very well. And so that's why those comedies aren't being made. But basically, this is the marketplace. You have to understand, if you want to sell something, it doesn't matter what you want. What does the marketplace want? And they don't want your original. That's not what they want right now. You're listening to Screenwriters Need to Hear This with Michael Jamin. Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Michael Jamin, and I'm with Philadelphia Phil Hudson. Here's Phil.
What's up, guys?
What's up, everyone? Let's dive into it, Phil. We don't mess around on this show. We just dive right into the subject. And so today, I thought we would talk about understanding the film marketplace. And that even though I'm primarily a TV writer, my partner and I, we've sold 2 movies. So I know it a little bit, but some things I think are kind of jump out at me, even from my point of view as a TV writer, understanding the film marketplace. So I thought we'd just chat a little about that, and why not? And get to ease into it. Oh, and before I do, Phil, I want to tell everybody about this great idea you had. You're not going to mind, I'm sure.
Okay, let's do this.
Because I'm giving you credit. So we started something called the Watch List, whereas once a week we will email you for free the top 3 videos that I think people need to see. So one video is for actors, and one will be for writers, and then one will be for kind of either just directors or creative people, just creativity. And so to get on the watch list, it's free. You go to michaeljamin.com/watchlist, and I'll spell my name, michaeljamin.com/watchlist, enter your email, and then once a week, we'll send you this watch list, and you can unsubscribe whenever you want. We're not going to spam you. We're not going to sell your email, because I don't know how to do that anyway. And that's it. It's all good.
Yeah, it's good stuff. We've seen a lot of really good feedback, a lot of thank yous coming into the support email for having the watch list up. Just a little hit of inspiration for those creatively minded, I would say.
Yeah, inspiration.
Yeah.
So today,
I will say I do have a request for our listeners, and this is just something to help grow our small channel and our little podcast here. But if you could leave a review, a written review, honest review on iTunes, that would be very helpful. It helps us. And if you're watching this on YouTube, just go ahead and hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. Michael puts out content every single day on YouTube, multiple times a day. There's a lot of information there, and it's all free. He does it free for you guys. So just help us out. Just give us a little like and a comment, and help us make the algorithm happy.
So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about, this is screener season. This is the time of the year when the studios send us screeners. They send it to the members of the Writers Guild and Directors Guilds. I'm in both those guilds. So they send a lot of movies out. And the intention is they want us to watch it so that we'll vote for it in award season to raise the profile or whatever the hell they're working on, whatever they're releasing. And so this year, I counted about 30 screeners they sent us. I'm going to hold it up. 30 screeners. It looks like this. It's a big, can you see? It's a lot of screeners to this camera and this camera. And I noticed a pattern. And so if you're interested in selling a screenplay, like most people listening to this are like, yeah, I got a screenplay and I want to sell my movie, right? And that's normal. Most people want to have a movie. And so I thought we would just do a quick study of what the studios are sending out. It's not all their movies. They don't send out everything. They just send out, I guess, the ones that they think have the highest chance of, getting voted for stuff. But it's a pretty good, when you look at the selection, I think it's a pretty good representation of all the stuff they put out. It's a good sampling. And so what we can study is the sampling. So let's get to the first one. The first one is King Richard, which is, and we're going to make a note of it. King Richard is based on it's a biopic. So we know about, it's a biopic. And then the next one is Dune. Let's move that over here. Dune, of course, is a remake. Okay. Let's see if we can sense any patterns, Phil. Then there's Being the Ricardos. Of course, that's a remake, or it's a remake of, it's a little bit of both. It's a biopic of I Love Lucy. So, Desi and Lucy. The Electrical Life of Louis Wayne. Okay, that is an original script, but it was written by the director. But it's original. Okay, so think about that. Then there's Passing, and Passing was based on a novel. Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, I got that wrong. The Electrical Life of Louis Wayne is a biopic, but it was written by the director, I believe. But it was a biopic. Then there's Spencer, another biopic on Lady Diana, right? Tick Tick Boom, a biopic. Coda, which was based on a foreign remake, actually, if you didn't know that. Tender Bar, based on a novel. Encounter, which is an original screenplay. Oh, okay, good. So now we get a writer who wrote something. Put that in a separate pile. The French Dispatch, all right, so that is written, that's Wes Anderson. It's original, but it was written by the director, so I don't think you can aspire. I don't think you're Wes Anderson. Nightmare Alley, which I loved, terrific. That was based on a novel. Tragedy of Macbeth, a little unknown writer named Shakespeare, so it's based on a play. The Lost Daughter was based on a novel. Coming to America 2, which is a sequel, okay? And it's a comedy, all right? But it is original, but it's a sequel. What is this? Belfast, which is an original piece by the director, by Kenneth Branagh. So, but he wrote it, right? And he's the director. Underground Railroad, based on a novel. Prayers for the Stolen, which is also Noche de Fuego. Phil, you can translate for that for us.
Night of Fire.
And that is a novel based on a novel. The Harder They Fall, which was original by a writer actually, something original. Thank you. Cyrano, based on, how many times have we seen Cyrano? So it's not original. Annette, original. It's original, but it's a musical. But it's still original. But I don't write musicals, so there's no hope for me there. The Tomorrow War, which as far as I can tell was original. Respect, Aretha Franklin story, so that is a biopic. House of Gucci, biopic. È stata la mano di Dio, which is original, but it's Italian, so it's foreign. That doesn't help us any. The Power of the Dog, really good, based on a book. Licorice Pizza, okay, but that's original, but again, that's based on it's a Paul Thomas Anderson movie, so he's the director, he wrote it. So unless you're Paul Thomas Anderson, you're not going to get that job. West Side Story, remake. No Time to Die, that's James Bond, so that is a sequel. So I've added these up, Phil, because I can do math. And so I counted biopics. There were, of the 30 movies sent out, there were 8 biopics, 6 remakes, 3 original scripts, but written by the famous big directors. 4 were original by screenwriters. Oh, just simply people like you that you aspire to be. So 4. 1 was foreign and 2 were sequels. So of 30 movies, only 4 of them that were sent out were original pieces written by by like a writer, someone like you, someone aspiring to be. So that's not good odds. But then I did a little more digging to see what else is going on. And because this is just a sampling. So I went to Netflix. I Googled what are the top releases by Netflix this year. And I haven't even seen any of these, but there was Red Notice, which was an original piece written by the director. We Can Be Heroes, original but written by the director. Army of the Dead, original but written by the director. Wish Dragon, original by director. Army of Thieves, original by director. That's Zack Snyder. That's your him. You're not him, right? Mitchells vs. Machines, which is an original piece written by the director, who actually was, before this, he was a writer on a show called Gravity Falls. So when you look at the pattern, man. I mean, what are we seeing here? What are we seeing, Phil?
Yeah, you're seeing a market that is heavily slated towards a pre-existing intellectual property or IP, and you're seeing a very hard shift towards famous directors getting the opportunity to make their films. Mm-hmm. But that's it.
And I left one off, actually, Encounter, which was an original piece. I did. Oh, I'm sorry. Great. Whatever. Yeah. But that one's original by a screenwriter. And so, I mean, now we're not talking about the indie film world. I don't know about indie, but those guys hustle. Those guys, they raise the money themselves. They enter into film festivals, and they try to win, and then they try to get distribution. But I don't know anything. I'm just talking about studio movies, which is like I think most people aspire to do.
Well, and we can have a whole conversation about the indie side of things and how typically you're going to make barely any money back off of the final product of an indie film to sell it to another company that's going to put it on Netflix and Hulu and all those other places, and they're going to make the money on the distribution end. But you're barely going to make anything off of it.
Is that right? I don't even know.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty gross out there.
So I guess the point I'm making, though, I'm not trying to discourage anybody from writing, but you have to know the marketplace. If no one wants, and by the way, how many of these were comedy? There was one comedy, and that was Coming to America 2, the sequel. Mm-hmm. And
also probably written and directed by Eddie Murphy, right?
Well, no, actually, no. There was, who the hell wrote it? Who got credit for this? Best adapted screenplay by Kenya Barris and a guy named Barry Blaustein and David Sheffield. So, no, Eddie Murphy didn't get any kind of story credits, but the characters. But oh yeah, I did a live post probably on Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, you gotta follow me, because I did a post a couple of days ago about someone asked why are they not making comedies anymore in films. And the answer basically is studios want to hit, it seems like they decided maybe 10 or 15 years ago to get out of the business of hitting singles and doubles, and they want to hit home runs every time. And a home run means they want to have a movie that sells overseas, especially to Asia and China, because those are huge markets. And comedies often, they say they don't travel well. Something gets lost in translation. And so, but the movies that do travel very well are these big blockbuster sci-fi, action films, green screen, Marvel movies. Those are easy to translate, and they do very well. And so that's why those comedies aren't being made. But basically, this is the marketplace. You have to understand, if you want to sell something, it doesn't matter what you want. What does the marketplace want? And they don't want your original. That's not what they want right now. But I'm not trying to discourage you. I go back to I keep going back. Everything is a business decision, and so I'm skipping all over the place. I apologize, but it's all about how easy it is to market these films. And so a film that is a sequel or a remake or based on a novel, it's easier to market because
there's a fan base.
It has a fan base. We've heard of those movies. We don't, we know James Bond. We know even these movies, The Tender Bar, are based on a movie. Based on a book.
To the point here, right? I mean, we're still in the middle of a pandemic. They opened up theaters here in LA. I've been very hesitant to go. I ventured out for 2 films. Dune and No Time to Die, James Bond. Why? I knew what I was going to see. I love the director for Dune. I love James Bond.
Right.
The only 2 I saw in theaters.
That's right. So it's all about marketing. So don't get mad that, they don't want your movie. But the point of a movie, I say this over and over again, is it's a writing sample. So when you write your script, you don't even think about it. You're not thinking about selling it. You're thinking about impressing somebody with your writing, which is fine. You're a writer. Hey, look, and then they call you in. They like your writing, and then they hope. Then you're the one who gets farmed out one of these books to write to turn into a movie, and now you're making a living, which is fine.
Right. So when I was really diving into this stuff early on in my writing, journey, I guess if you want to call it that, there's a big talk about like 4-quadrant appeal and how, there's 4 quadrants based on age and gender and demographics that basically say, if you can get all 4 quadrants, you're going to have a big hit because you're going to get the whole family involved. But the best market is typically, young men, right? Like 15 to like 24, because they tend to spend the most money going to films. But it doesn't even seem like that really matters as much as, is it going to play overseas?
I don't even know. It's a good question because I haven't written any movies. I haven't sold movies in many, many years. So I don't even know if that core 4-quadrant thing even matters anymore because, everything's on streaming. And so okay, here's a movie that appeals to young men. Point. I don't know if that's 4 quadrants.
Right, because you have the algorithms on Netflix that are going to show you films that you like based on what you've been watching.
Yeah, I know it's all about the tile they put. Like, hey, we want to make a tile that people click.
And if you're not paying attention on Netflix, next time you go in and you're scrolling through Netflix, like pay attention to what the tile looks like, and then when you scroll down past the screen and it goes up, if you scroll back up, oftentimes the tile has changed. So see if they have another see if you click on a different picture. And that's called an A/B test in the marketing world, where you're just seeing how many people will click on one versus the other to see which one performs better. And that's a very savvy marketing technique that Netflix is doing to try to get you to click on the property they want you to watch.
Yeah.
So, okay, this really does feel to me like what I've been hearing for the last several years, that film's kind of dead. And it's really the writer's medium is television, and that's the place to spend your time and energy if you want to be a storyteller.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there are. I guess it's hard to define what's a film. Is a film, does it have to appear in a theater first? Like, COVID is changing everything. Who knows?
Yeah, and I would think film is like something that's not like a 30, a sitcom or a 1 hour drama. Anything above that kind of 80-minute mark is a film.
But Netflix, I mean, they are producing films, and so is Hulu, and so is Amazon. But I think at the end of it, even still, I mean, do your own research. That's what I would encourage you. Go on Google, and you can easily do what I did, which is look up, the top movies that Hulu released in this year or whatever. And then what you do is you find out who the writer is. And there are certain clues, by the way, because if when I get these the screeners, on the back of them, it says, they have nominations for like the awards they want you, and they say best writing adapted screenplay. So adapted means it's based on something else, and original screenplay means it's original, it's first time. But go do your research. Go find out, the top movies Hulu made or Amazon made. Find out who the writer was, and then you can go on IMDb, plug their name in there, and find out. Oh, okay, they started in TV. That's most of them start in TV.
And a huge chunk of feature writers are moving to television because there's less work in film, and you have more freedom to tell the story you want in TV.
That's absolutely the case. So film is always going to be a director's medium, and TV is a writer's medium. You just have more control.
I'd say that's a very important note for anyone listening to this who hasn't really looked at a lot of the other stuff you have, or people who have. We talk a lot about how competitive it is to be a writer in Hollywood, a working writer. And, it's NFL level. Like, you're playing champion level football with the way you're doing this. And so not only is it that, and I always described it, and we might have talked about it in another podcast, so I apologize if I'm repeating myself, but I always think I'm a big college football fan. And in college, there's this thing called the Heisman Trophy. And the Heisman Trophy goes to the best player in the entire NCAA. So 106 or so teams, 60 players on each team, the best, like the best statistical athletic player. And then that guy goes to the NFL, and most of the time he washes out because everyone in the NFL is a Heisman Trophy winner, effectively. They're playing at that same level. It's a completely different game of football. And so you're basically stepping into the big leagues, and then you have the biggest names in Hollywood stepping in to play on your field. And that's what's going on in TV right now. So even more emphasis put on the need to be a good writer and understand story structure and tell a good story.
Yeah. I mean, most people don't want to do that. Of course, they want to say, and I talked about a little, again, I don't want to repeat myself either, but they always say, how do I get my script in the right hands? They definitely want to get their script made because it's, that's what who doesn't, right? But no one wants to make your script. Everyone wants to make their own script. Even a producer or an executive at the studio, no one signed up. No one as a child dreamed of writing King Richard, the story about, the Williams sisters, because they weren't even alive then, or they were babies or whatever. Like that was no one's dream. But some writer got that job, and I'm sure they were thrilled to have it, and great, they made a great movie. But it wasn't the movie they dreamed of making. It was just it was an assignment they got, and they were happy to get it, and they got it because they have good samples and they're good writers, But that's the business part, and no one's complaining about it. Like they would. I'm sure they got paid well, and they enjoyed doing it, and they were happy to have that job, and it was fun and exciting. But they're still making the movie that someone else wanted to make, not the movie that they wanted to make.
I was talking to someone in your course recently, having read, I did a bunch of notes for people that had read some stuff I'd written recently. And, I was talking to a guy in your course, and he said that he reiterated something he said many times about you. And I think we have to commend you for that as,
Oh,
listeners of you, not to stoke your ego with your already big head, right?
it's already getting there. Yeah.
Yeah. But he says the thing I appreciate about Michael is that he just says how it is. Like, he's not BSing me. He's not selling me the dream of Hollywood. And he's like, I was just I paid for another course from another writer, and the whole time I was just thinking, like, this is kind of worthless because he's just selling me on the dream and trying to inflate my ego and talk me up. And the truth is, it's a harsh desert out there. Like, it is, sticks and stones, and and thorns and thistles, and you gotta figure your way through that wilderness to start fire and make a civilization. That's what's going on, and you're real about that. So no one else that I know is really doing that. So thanks for being real, man.
Oh, thank you. You're not helping someone by blowing smoke and selling them a dream. You're just not helping them. And I know it's sobering when I read you this list of 30 movies, and only 4 of them are original. That's sobering. But so up, and now you know how to go forward. Now you see a path in the forest. Okay, I'm just got to I got to write a good script as a sample.
Yeah, the thought I'm having. There's 2 ways to take this advice. One is to shrug your shoulders and say, okay, I guess it wasn't meant to be, and go the rest of your life wishing you had, or saying it was too hard and coming up with excuses. But there's the other path is to just basically, roll your shoulders back and get to work. Like, set your goal in mind, move towards it, and understand, all right, these are the facts. I can't change them. The only thing I can control is my skill set, and everyone has their own ability to develop that.
I'm glad you mentioned it, because I had a post a couple days ago on Instagram. Everyone, damn it, follow me on Instagram, because I got good stuff there. But and some young woman, she was an actress, and she didn't like what I had to say, and then she posted that in her opinion, it's harder now to break into the industry as an actor than it was, say, 30 years ago when I was coming in, and I argue that it's actually easier, but it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter who's right or wrong in this case. She thinks it's hard, and that's okay. But if it is harder than it was 30 years ago, then by her logic, it's going to be even harder in 30 years from now, because things get harder. Like, every generation thinks it's never been harder. They have the hardest. But whatever. So she's complaining how hard it is now. Well, it's going to be even harder in 30 years. So stop complaining. Enjoy it now. That's my argument. But even more to the point, like, because her point, and it was, she had some valid complaints, but they were still just complaints at the end of the day. Her point was, and I don't disagree with it, is that a lot of times these people, studios, they really want to hire for actors influencers, because these influencers, and I've worked on a show where this was definitely the case. The studio wanted to hire a big influencer, because this guy had a huge following, and he could help promote the show. He had a bigger following than the network we were on. He had more eyeballs watching his Instagram posts than the network we were on. So let's get this guy. He's handsome. He's good. He's an influencer. We approached him. He didn't even want to do it at first, because he apparently he makes more money influencing than he does.
For sure he does.
But he was getting paid a lot of money for this. Like, per episode, it was like a lot of money. So, like, I guess he was making a ton of money. So he didn't really want to do it, but he finally agreed to doing it. He eventually did it. And I guess this is the case for a lot of shows. They want influencers, and she's complaining that these influencers are not really actors. A lot of times they don't even want to do it, or they do it, they're half-assed, or it's not their dream. And the studio should hire actors to be an actor. And yeah, that's a fair point. They should. They definitely should. How long are you going to bitch about this, though?
Right.
I mean, honestly, how long are you going to? It's not helping you. And I know, look, I've fallen into that trap too. Not so much recently, but in past years. I work in Hollywood. I witness firsthand Hollywood is not fair. It's not fair to me. It's not fair to other people. I see it all the time. And I used to bitch about it, sometimes out loud, sometimes in my head. But it doesn't help. And so put the bitching aside, and what's your plan? What is your plan?
Yeah. This is so real for me right now. And, I've worked on several shows since we started recording this podcast. I've done a film, I've done a bunch of different PA jobs. And so I'm going to try to keep it anonymous where it is. But there was an opportunity that I think most people felt was mine to progress in my career. And I had turned down this opportunity on another show to be, to push towards this position on the show that I wanted, and I didn't get it, and I went to somebody else, and that stung. And I described it as, it feels like it being picked last for t-ball. It's like, we're just putting the ball on the stand. It's not hard. They're like, yeah, but you're slow around the bases, buddy. Like, you're still not good. That's how it feels. And after about an hour of, really checking my ego as an adult and just suppressing that kind of wounded child, I really just had to come to terms with the facts, like, no one is going to hand this to you. Like, not a single person. Even if everyone can agree that you're deserving of it, it does not mean you're going to get it. And the time is now to just rise up and just be the writer I want to be, and just make it happen. And, I've written some of the best stuff I've ever written because of that experience. And so, this is the story of life, though. This is why I think athletics are important for people growing up. I think, it's challenge, it's discipline, it's understanding that not everything is going to be sugar-coated and great. You have to push through, and it's pushing through that wall that ultimately makes you stronger and better.
Yeah. I say this a lot, and it applies to me as well. Hollywood doesn't owe you or me a living. No one owes me anything. So everything's about the hustle. And even now, after doing 26, Phil, I'm still hustling.
Every day. Yeah.
So that's the way it is. And just like, if you don't like the hustle, get a job somewhere else. And by the way, I don't even know if the hustle that might be gone. Those days of the days of a 9-to-5 job where you have a career for 40 years, then you get a gold watch at the end of it, and you're guaranteed that pension. Like, who's got that job now?
No. Nope. That's all gone. It's been gone most of my adult life. And so, there's a pretty prominent marketer named Gary Vaynerchuk. Most of your audience should probably know who he is, but Gary V, he's everyone's VaynerMedia, which I think is valued at $1 billion as a marketing agency right now. I mean, bought original stock in Twitter and in Facebook, and turned down stock in his buddy's company, a little company called Uber, that he says is his biggest regret. Yeah. But this guy, all this is going on, people are talking about NFTs and crypto and talking about all this stuff. And he basically came out and said, while you guys were out complaining you didn't understand it, I just took 50 hours, sat down, figured it out, and he made like $160 million in 60 days trading crypto and NFTs. Now he's got more money to put into the pot to start that thing, right? But the point is, like, anything you want to learn how to do, it's just sitting down and putting your time and attention to that. Stop sedating with video games. I love video games, right? But when I was in sales and I was bad at sales, I had to take the Xbox out of my room, put it in my roommate's room, and sit down and read sales books instead. And I did. And the first week I made $700 in commissions, and I'd made nothing the previous 3 months, right? It's the same thing with this. You got to sit down. You got to crack open your course, crack open your social media. You got to read any of the foundational books on screenwriting most people talk about, and you just got to do the work. And by the way, I'd say it's not just enough to read and learn. You have to do it. You have to sit down and just write and write and write. And one thing that I heard an interview with Kobe Bryant after he passed, and it really stuck with me. He said, you guys see me out there and you're upset when I miss a shot, but no one's more upset than I am, because before you even see me take that shot, I did 1,000. I did it 1,000 times on my own in private before I ever did anything on the court. Yeah. Right. So no one holds me more accountable than I do myself, and I prove it and back it up with my time. Yeah. That's what you got to do. You got to write the drafts. You got to get the notes. You got to spend time figuring it out, and you get better. Yeah. And I hope, honestly, my goal is not to discourage anybody by showing you about the marketplace. It's about so you understand it, so you understand what the goal is, again, which is to you just need a good sample. So you focus on the one thing. That's the only thing you have control over anyway, is your ability at writing. You don't have any control of anything else. So. Yeah, I mentioned earlier on in the podcast that you gave me a note a few years ago on a Spec Mr. Robot I wrote. You're like, this is good, and you're a competent writer, but it's not great. And how much that stung, but was very important for me to hear. And I just wrote something because of this experience I had, and I put it out. And I literally had someone thank me for giving them something good to read. And I was like, that's it. That's the thing I've been chasing this whole time. Yeah. Right? Like, that's good. That's fantastic. And that didn't come easy. That came from work. Oh, hundreds of hours of work, man. Yeah. Hundreds. But I got there, and now it's like, okay, I got to do it again and again and again and again. But I'd rather do this than dig a ditch. I'd rather do this than do anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I hope that helps. I thought it was just interesting to see what the marketplace was. But again, do your own research, because you may discover something else that, oh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't sell movies, but it seems pretty obvious. To me, the facts are pretty clear, but you can interpret them however you want. This is how I interpret them, which is what I would do. But so anyway.
Great. Well, thanks, Michael. I think it's another eye-opening conversation, and hopefully benefits a lot of people to inspire them to get off their butts and just do the writing, and stop complaining. And for those of us who are doing the writing, to double down our efforts and really focus on the things that matter, which is, what's the one thing that matters? Michael?
Yeah. Your ability to tell a story.
Tell a story.
Are you a good writer? Do you know how to tell a compelling story that makes people want to turn the page? And that's it.
And let's be very clear. Good writer is tell a story. It's the same thing. There's nothing else. It's not the bells and whistles. It's not the flowery dialogue. It's can you tell a good story?
Yeah. And so that's it. Everyone go get on my watch. Someone asked me the other day I did a live, and they're like, what's the one tip you'd give an aspiring writer? I was like, one tip? Why stop at one? Why not? How about one a week? Just get on my watch list and I'll email it to you. Yeah. So again, that's michaeljamin.com/watch list, and follow me on Instagram, for God's sake, because Phil, you do a great job of that. We've been adding a lot more content on Instagram because of you. Because of what you're doing.
Well, we got all these clips. I mean, basically, I sit down in these podcasts and I find, what are the pieces of information I wish I had known early on. 10 years into this, Michael's giving it all to you week by week. So just go eat it up and study those individual clips, because they're great.
And also posts, we're doing more of those. Not just clips, but I guess we call them tiles or whatever. Helpful stuff written down in case you don't want to watch a video.
Great. Well, thanks, Michael.
All right. Yeah, thanks, everyone.